The giant screen in the United Nations Assembly Hall showed an alien ship approaching Earth. Everyone in the room was silent. This was humanity's first contact with beings from another world. Ambassador Gregory Miller straightened his tie and took a deep breath. The tall, gray-haired man had spent his whole life in diplomacy, but nothing had prepared him for this day. Next to him stood Lieutenant Samantha Wright, a young officer with short blonde hair and sharp blue eyes. They were Earth's chosen representatives for this historic meeting. "Are you ready, Lieutenant?" Miller asked quietly. "As ready as I'll ever be, sir," Wright replied, her hand resting on her holstered sidearm. She was there for security, but also to represent Earth's military. The alien transmission had come 3 days ago. They called themselves the Galactic Council, a union of 27 different alien species that govern most of the known galaxy. Now they wanted to meet Earth's leaders. The first aliens to step through the door looked almost like tall, blue-skinned humans with large eyes. Behind them came creatures that looked like walking plants and others that resembled large insects. "Greetings, humans," said the lead alien in perfect English. "I am High Counselor Vextur of the Zeraxian people. We welcome Earth to the galactic community." Miller stepped forward. "On behalf of humanity, we thank you for your peaceful approach and welcome the opportunity for friendship." The meeting moved to a large conference room where the aliens laid out their standard treaties. There were agreements about trade, technology sharing, military cooperation, and resource allocation. The aliens seemed surprised when Miller and his team began asking detailed questions. "Why does Section 12 give the Council rights to mine any uninhabited planets in our solar system?" asked Miller. Vextur blinked his large eyes. "This is standard procedure. All member species agree to this. And this part about Council ships having free passage through our space." Lieutenant Wright pointed to another section. "That seems like a security concern." The plant-like alien, who had introduced herself as Floruvian Ambassador Threll, waved her leaf-like appendages. "Every species signs these exact treaties. It is how we maintain peace and order." The meetings continued for days. With each session, the aliens grew more frustrated. They weren't used to being questioned. When Earth's scientists asked for more details about alien technology offered in exchange for resources, the Council representatives became evasive. During a break, Miller overheard 2 aliens talking in the hallway. "These humans are not like the others," one said. "They question everything." "It is concerning," replied the other. "If they reject our treaties, others might follow." Miller pretended not to hear, but made a mental note to report this conversation. On the 5th day, the Council presented their final treaty package. It included membership in the Galactic Council, protection from hostile species, and limited technology sharing. In exchange, Earth would provide resources, allow Council bases on Mars, and follow Council laws. Miller looked at the document, then at his team. Something felt wrong. Every concession Earth had asked for had been denied with the same answer. "This is how it has always been done." "We will need time to review these terms," Miller said finally. "Our full government must vote on such important matters." Vextur's blue skin darkened with emotion. "This is unusual. Most species sign immediately upon being offered membership. Humans tend to be unusual," Lieutenant Wright said with a small smile. As the aliens left the building, Miller watched their ship rise into the sky. He turned to Wright. "Did you notice how they acted when we asked questions, almost like they weren't used to it?" Wright nodded. "Yes. And did you see their faces when we suggested changes to their treaties? They looked scared." Miller stared at the sky where the ship had disappeared. "Something tells me the Galactic Council isn't used to hearing the word no," he said. "And I have a feeling they're about to hear it from us." 6 months had passed since first contact. The Galactic Council had left Earth with promises to return for final treaty negotiations. In that time, a Council intelligence officer named Krillnex had been studying human behavior. He could not understand why humans were so resistant to the treaties that every other species had eagerly signed. "We need to bring some humans to the Council station," Krillneck suggested to High Counselor Vex Tour. If they see our society, perhaps they will be more willing to join. And so, invitations were sent to Earth for a cultural exchange. NASA engineer Alan Cooper and diplomat Olivia Martinez were selected to visit the massive Council space station that served as the capital of galactic politics. Alan was a tall man with dark brown hair and a curious mind. Olivia was shorter, with olive skin and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Both were excited but cautious about this opportunity. When they arrived at the station, they were amazed by its size and the variety of alien species walking its corridors. It was like a city in space, with areas designed to accommodate the needs of many different life forms. "This is remarkable engineering," Alan said as he looked up at the huge artificial sky dome above them. Their guide, Krillnex, smiled with his thin lips. "The Council has built many such stations. Your Earth could have access to this technology if you join us." While Alan was shown the station's technical systems, Olivia was invited to review the treaties that other species had signed. As a skilled diplomat, she quickly noticed concerning patterns. "These clauses give the Council complete control over resource allocation," she noted, pointing to a section. "And this one allows Council ships to enter any member's territory without permission." The alien diplomat accompanying her seemed surprised by her observations. No one has ever questioned these terms before. These are standard agreements. Meanwhile, Alan was examining the station's security systems. With his engineer's eye, he spotted vulnerabilities that seemed obvious. "Your network connections aren't encrypted," he mentioned to his guide. "Anyone could access your data." Krillnex looked confused. "We have no need for such security between Council members. We trust each other completely." That evening, Alan and Olivia met in their quarters to share what they had learned. "Something isn't right," Olivia said. "These treaties basically turn member planets into resource farms for the Council. Most species seem to have no real power here." Alan nodded. "And their technology is advanced, but full of basic flaws. It's like they've never had to worry about anyone challenging them." When they tried to discuss their concerns with Council representatives the next day, they were dismissed as being paranoid. "Your human tendency to suspect others is unique," Vex Tour told them. "No other species has these concerns." Back on Earth, military analyst Patricia Johnson was working late in the Pentagon. She had been researching the history of Council member species. What she found disturbed her. "Sir, you need to see this," she said to her commanding officer. "I've been comparing historical data from the Council archives. Every species that joined their alliance has gradually lost control of their home systems. Their military forces have been reduced, and their resource production has been increasingly directed toward Council projects." She pulled up images showing the home planets of several alien species. These worlds were once independent and thriving. Now they're little more than Council outposts. Her commander frowned. "Do you think this is what they planned for Earth?" Patricia nodded. "I believe so. And I think we may be the first species to notice before it's too late." As Alan and Olivia prepared to return to Earth, they were unaware that their observations had already confirmed Earth's growing suspicions. The misunderstanding between humans and the Council wasn't about communication. It was about control. And Earth was not willing to give up its freedom, no matter how advanced the Council claimed to be. The United Nations building in New York was surrounded by protesters and news crews. Inside, world leaders from every nation had gathered for an emergency meeting. The Galactic Council had given Earth 1 month to sign their treaties. That deadline was tomorrow. President Diane Russell sat at the center table, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her face showed the strain of sleepless nights. Next to her sat Secretary of Defense Frank Calloway, a broad-shouldered man with a serious expression. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Russell began, "we face the most important decision in human history. Do we join the Galactic Council, or do we stand alone?" The room fell silent. Everyone had read the reports from Alan Cooper and Olivia Martinez about their visit to the Council station. They had also reviewed the analysis from Patricia Johnson about what happened to other species after joining the Council. Secretary Calloway stood up and activated a large screen. "This is what we know. The Council offers advanced technology and protection, but their treaties contain hidden clauses that would slowly drain Earth of resources and independence." He showed images of other worlds that had joined the Council. These planets started as independent worlds. Within 50 years, they became little more than mining colonies. Their people work mainly to provide resources for the Council. The Russian president spoke up. "But can we afford to refuse? Their military power is far beyond ours." Calloway nodded. "Yes, they have more ships and weapons. But we found weaknesses in their systems. They have not faced real opposition in thousands of years. They don't encrypt their communications. Their weapons systems have never been tested against an enemy that fights back." Ambassador Miller, who had met the Council representatives during first contact, added his thoughts. "They seem genuinely confused by our questions and concerns. I don't think they're evil. They just don't understand the concept of true independence anymore." The Chinese premier leaned forward. "What are our options?" President Russell took a deep breath. "We have 3 choices. 1. Sign their treaties and hope for the best. 2. Reject the treaties and prepare for possible conflict. 3. Try to negotiate better terms." Alan Cooper, who had been invited to the meeting because of his technical expertise, raised his hand. "Based on what I saw, their technology is advanced but has flaws. If we have time to prepare, we could develop defenses." Olivia Martinez nodded in agreement. "And not all Council species seem happy with the current system. We might find allies." The debate continued for hours. Some nations favored joining, arguing that the benefits outweighed the risks. Others strongly opposed signing away Earth's independence. As evening approached, President Russell called for a vote. "This must be unanimous. We cannot face this divided." One by one, each nation cast its vote. To everyone's surprise, the result was clear. Not a single country voted to accept the Council's terms. "Then it is decided," President Russell said. "Earth stands united in our decision. We will reject all current treaties and propose our own terms for cooperation." Secretary Calloway looked concerned. "They may not take this well. We should prepare our defenses." "Agreed," said the President. "As of this moment, all nations will share military and scientific resources. We need to be ready for any response from the Council." Ambassador Miller was given the task of delivering Earth's message to the Council. He would tell them, "We respectfully decline all current proposals and will draft our own terms for mutual cooperation." As the meeting ended, President Russell looked out the window at the city lights of New York. She wondered if those lights would still be shining a year from now, or if Earth had just made a terrible mistake. But in her heart, she knew they had made the only choice possible. Humans had fought too hard for their freedom throughout history to give it away now, even to advanced aliens with promises of technology and protection. Earth had made its decision. Now they would face the consequences together. The main chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with representatives from 27 different species. The huge round room had seats arranged in circles, with the most powerful species sitting in the center. The noise level in the chamber was unusually high today. High Counselor Vex Tour stood in the middle, his blue skin now pale with stress. He held up his hands for silence. Slowly, the room quieted down. "What you have heard is true," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The humans have rejected all of our standard treaties. This has never happened in the 12,000 years of Council history." Murmurs spread through the room. Many aliens looked worried, while others seemed angry. "How dare they?" shouted Commander Draztul, leader of the Xeraxian military faction. He was taller than Vex Tour, with dark blue skin and a scar across his face. "No species has ever rejected Council membership. This is an insult to our authority." From the outer circles, a small green alien named Vexilor of the Vexeri species spoke up. Perhaps we should consider their concerns. The humans raised some interesting points about resource allocation in our treaties. Silence. Draz Tull snapped. Questioning the treaties is not allowed. Our system has worked for thousands of years, but the damage was done. Other representatives began whispering among themselves. The human analysis of the treaties had been made public, and many species were now looking at their own agreements with new eyes. On the council station, alien news networks reported on the unprecedented rejection. Some called humans dangerous rebels, while others described them as brave truth-tellers. In a quiet room away from the main chamber, Threll, the plant-like Floruvian ambassador, met secretly with Krillnex, who had studied the humans. "Do you think the humans are right about our treaties?" Threll asked, her leaf-like appendages trembling slightly. Krillnex looked uncomfortable. "I have reviewed their analysis. They make valid points. Our treaties do take more from newer members than they give in return. Why has no one noticed this before?" Threll wondered. "Because no one ever questioned them," Krillnex replied. "We all trusted the system." Back in the main chamber, the debate raged on. Commander Draz Tull demanded immediate military action to force Earth's compliance. "We must make an example of them before other species get similar ideas," he insisted. Vex Tour was more cautious. A military approach could backfire. "If we attack and fail, our authority will be further weakened." After hours of heated discussion, the council took a vote. The decision was to establish a quarantine zone around the Sol system, blocking any official contact with Earth. They labeled humanity as a destabilizing influence on galactic politics. What they didn't know was that several lower-tier council species were already making secret plans to contact Earth. The Vexeri and Nolarians, who had long felt mistreated by the council, saw humans as potential allies. As the council meeting ended, Vex Tour pulled Draz Tull aside. "Do not take any military action without approval," he warned. Draz Tull's eyes narrowed. "The humans must be taught a lesson. They are making others question our authority. That is exactly why we must be careful," Vex Tour replied. "Force might only prove their point." As the two Zeraxians argued, a message arrived from their spies on Earth. The humans were already building up their defenses and developing new technology at an alarming rate. "They are preparing for war," Draz Tull said, his voice filled with dark satisfaction. "This gives us reason to strike first." Vex Tour wasn't so sure. For the first time in his long life, he felt afraid, not just of the humans, but of what their questions might mean for the future of the council. The perfect order that had existed for thousands of years was beginning to crack, and it had all started because one species dared to say no. Earth had changed in the 3 months since rejecting the Galactic Council's treaties. Military bases were now centers of intense activity. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock. A sense of purpose united people across the planet. At the Pentagon, General William Hayes walked through a new facility built specifically for space defense planning. He was a tall man with short gray hair and a serious face. Maps of the solar system covered the walls, with defensive positions marked at key points. "How are the new shield generators coming along?" he asked a group of scientists. Dr. Natalie Parker looked up from her computer. She was in her 40s with curly brown hair and tired eyes from working long hours. "We've made a breakthrough. By studying the council technology we observed, we've developed shields that should be twice as strong as theirs." Next to her, Dr. Eric Sanchez nodded. He was younger, with glasses and a thin beard. "Their technology is advanced but hasn't changed much in centuries. They never needed to innovate because no one challenged them." General Hayes looked pleased. "And our weapons systems. Even better news there," Dr. Sanchez said. "We found a weakness in their ship designs. Their shields are strongest at the front, but much weaker at the rear engine sections." Across the room, engineers were finalizing designs for Earth's first true warship. It was called the U.S. Defiant, and it looked unlike anything humans had built before. It was sleek and dark, designed to be hard to detect in space. "Will it be ready in time?" Hayes asked. "2 more weeks," said the lead engineer. "We're pushing the limits of what we thought possible." Meanwhile, in a secure conference room in Switzerland, Ambassador Miller was meeting secretly with representatives from 3 different alien species. They had reached out to Earth after the rejection of the Council treaties. "Your analysis of the Council treaties opened our eyes," said a small green alien from the Vexeri species. "Our people have been exploited for centuries, but we never questioned it before." Miller nodded. "We believe in fair partnerships. If you share information with us, we can help you renegotiate your position with the Council." In labs across Earth, scientists like Natalie Parker and Eric Sanchez were making rapid progress. They studied the limited alien technology they had observed and combined it with human innovation to create new defense systems. "The Council hasn't faced a real military challenge in thousands of years," Dr. Parker explained to a group of military officials. "Their weapons are powerful but predictable, and they've never had to fight an enemy who understands their weaknesses." In orbit around Earth, construction teams worked in space to build defense platforms. The first fleet of human spacefighters practiced new battle formations designed specifically to counter Council tactics. The U.S. Defiant was finally ready for its first test flight. Captain Julia Bennett, a woman with short black hair and steady hands, would be its commander. She had been a fighter pilot before being selected for this historic role. As she walked around her new ship, she felt a mix of pride and worry. "She's beautiful," Bennett said to her second in command, "but I hope we never have to use her in actual combat." General Hayes received regular intelligence reports from Council space. Spies reported that many in the Council were shocked by how quickly humans were advancing. What might have taken other species decades, Earth was accomplishing in months. "They're underestimating us," Hayes told President Russell during their weekly meeting. "They think we're just primitive beings who got lucky with a few insights." "That's an advantage," the president replied. "Let them underestimate us." But not everyone in the Council was making that mistake. Commander Draz Toll was gathering his fleet, preparing to teach humans a lesson they wouldn't forget. As Earth prepared its defenses, the clock was ticking. Both sides knew that a confrontation was coming. The only question was when and who would strike first. The alarm sounded throughout Earth's defense network. Red lights flashed in every command center. On screens across the planet, hundreds of dots appeared at the edge of the solar system. Council ships detected entering the outer solar system, reported a young officer. Over 200 vessels, mostly Xeraxian design. In the main command center, General Hayes stared at the large display. "So they've made their move," he said quietly. He turned to his communications officer. "Alert Captain Bennett. Deploy the fleet." In orbit around Mars, 30 human ships waited in formation. They were vastly outnumbered by the approaching Council fleet, but they had been built with specific advantages in mind. The U.S. Defiant led the formation, with Captain Julia Bennett in command. Bennett stood on the bridge, her face calm despite the pressure. "All ships, maintain position. Remember your training. They may have more ships, but we have the home advantage." On the lead Council ship, Commander Draz Toll smiled as he looked at the small human fleet. "Pathetic," he said to his officers. "They think 30 ships can stand against our armada. This demonstration will teach them proper respect for Council authority." Draz Toll had brought 200 warships, far more than needed to defeat Earth's defenses. He wanted this to be a show of overwhelming force. "Send the demand for surrender," he ordered. "Give them 1 hour to accept our terms." The message reached Earth quickly. President Russell read it with her advisors. "They want us to sign their original treaties and surrender our fleet," she said. "In exchange, they promise not to destroy our major cities." General Hayes shook his head. "We're not surrendering. Captain Bennett's forces are in position, and our new defense systems are online." President Russell nodded. "Send our response." In space, Bennett received Earth's reply to pass on to the Council fleet. She smiled slightly as she read it. "Transmit this message to the Council Commander," she told her communications officer. The message was simple. "We respectfully decline your offer and suggest you leave our solar system immediately." When Draztol received the response, he slammed his fist on his command chair. "Arrogant humans, begin the attack. Target their lid ship first." The Council fleet moved forward in standard formation. They had used the same battle tactics for thousands of years because no one had ever developed an effective counter. "They're forming a spearhead," Bennett observed. "Just as our intelligence predicted." She opened a channel to her fleet. "Execute Maneuver Omega. Remember, target their engine sections." The human ships suddenly split into smaller groups, moving in patterns the Council had never seen before. Instead of meeting the Council's spearhead formation head-on, they darted around it, attacking from multiple angles. Draztol was confused by the human tactics. What are they doing? This is not a standard defense formation. His confusion turned to shock when the first Council ships began reporting damage. The humans were targeting the weak points in their shield designs, the same weak points that had never been exploited because no one had ever thought to question the Council's technology. "Impossible," Draztol shouted as reports of damaged ships flooded in. "How can they know our vulnerabilities?" On the Defiant, Bennett directed her forces with calm precision. "Keep moving. Don't stay in their firing solutions. Group 2, attack their left flank." The battle continued for hours. Despite being outnumbered, the human ships were faster and more maneuverable. They used unexpected tactics and targeted specific weaknesses in the Council vessels. Back on Earth, people watched the battle through telescopes and satellite feeds. Many prayed for their defenders. Finally, after losing 25 ships and having dozens more damage, Draztol made a decision he had never imagined possible. "Retreat," he ordered, his voice heavy with humiliation. "All ships, retreat from this system." As the Council fleet turned and moved away from Earth, Bennett allowed herself a small smile. "Stand down attack pattern," she told her fleet. "Maintain defensive positions." She looked out at the stars. "We've won this battle," she said quietly. "But the war has just begun." News of humanity's victory spread quickly throughout Council space. For the first time in millennia, the mighty Council fleet had been defeated, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Grand Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from all 27 species shouted over each other. Some pounded their appendages on tables, while others huddled in worried groups. News of the human victory had reached every corner of Council space. High Counselor Vex Tour tried repeatedly to restore order, but his voice was lost in the noise. Finally, he activated the emergency sound system, which emitted a tone so loud that everyone fell silent, covering their hearing organs. "This council will have order," Vex Tour demanded. His blue skin had turned almost white with stress. From his seat, Commander Draztol glared at the High Counselor. His failed attack on Earth had cost him respect among his own people. "The humans must be destroyed completely," he growled. "We must send our entire fleet." "Your fleet already failed," said Thrall, the plant-like Floruvian ambassador. "Perhaps we should consider a different approach." "Like what?" Draztol sneered. "Like listening to them," said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Ambassador Gregory Miller walking into the chamber, flanked by 2 human guards. His presence was shocking. No human had ever entered the council chamber before. Vex Tour was stunned. "How did you get past our security?" Miller smiled slightly. "You'd be surprised what we've learned about your systems in recent months. But I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to offer an alternative." He walked to the center of the room and placed a data device on the main display table. A holographic document appeared above it. "This is what we call the Soul Accords. It's a framework for cooperation between species based on mutual respect and genuine exchange, not exploitation disguised as protection." The representatives leaned forward to examine the document. Unlike the Council treaties, these terms offered true equality between members, fair resource sharing, and protection of each species' sovereignty. This is madness, Drastul said. No system can function without hierarchy. Many systems can, Miller replied calmly. And more importantly, many of your member species are already interested in our approach. This caused another eruption of voices. In the outer circles, representatives from several species looked down, avoiding eye contact with the council leadership. Vextor noticed this. Who has been talking to the humans? He demanded. Silence fell over the room. Then, slowly, the Floruvian ambassador Thrall stood. We have, she said, her leaf-like appendages trembling slightly. The Floruvian High Council has been in discussions with Earth for several weeks. Next, a crystalline being from the Meritant species rose. As have we. The human analysis of council treaties revealed that we have been providing 90% of the crystal resources while receiving only 15% of the benefits. One by one, representatives from 7 species stood, admitting they had opened secret channels with Earth. Drastul was furious. This is treason against the Council. It is not treason to seek fair treatment, Miller said. His voice remained calm, making Drastul's anger seem excessive by comparison. Your system has worked for thousands of years by ensuring no one questioned it. But now, everyone is questioning. He gestured to the holographic document. We offer a choice. Continue with a system that exploits many to benefit few, or join us in building something better. Vextor studied the human ambassador. For the first time, he felt respect for these strange beings. The Council needs time to consider your proposal. Of course, Miller said, but some species may not wish to wait. As if on cue, the Floruvian ambassador moved to stand beside Miller. The Floruvian worlds formally withdraw from all Council treaties, effective immediately. We cite the human-inspired legal precedent of inequitable terms as our justification. The Meritant representative joined them, as do the Meritant systems. One by one, representatives from 7 species moved to stand with the humans. Each formally announced their withdrawal from Council treaties. The remaining Council members watched in shock as nearly a third of their alliance walked away in a single day. As Miller left the chamber with his new allies, he caught the eye of Vextor. The High Counselor looked defeated but also somewhat relieved, as if a great burden had been lifted. The revolution had begun, and it had started not with weapons, but with words on a page that simply asked. 1 year had passed since Earth rejected the last Council treaty. The old United Nations building in Geneva had been expanded to host an event unlike any in human history. Representatives from 15 different alien species gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall. The room buzzed with different languages, translated through small devices developed using a mix of human and alien technology. Humans mingled freely with beings from across the galaxy. President Diane Russell stood at the central podium, looking out at the diverse gathering. Her face showed the strain of the difficult year, but also pride in what had been accomplished. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history, she said. The formation of the Galactic Coalition is now official. Applause and various alien sounds of approval filled the room. On the wall behind her, a new symbol was displayed. A circle of stars surrounding a stylized image of different hands and appendages joined together. Ambassador Gregory Miller sat in the front row. Next to him were Thrall of the Floruvians and the crystalline representative of the Meritants. What had started with 7 species leaving the Council had grown to 15 who now joined Earth in this new alliance. The Sol Accords will serve as our founding document, President Russell continued. Each member world maintains full sovereignty over their territory. Resources will be traded fairly, with benefits distributed equally. Technology will be shared to help all our peoples. In the back of the room, Krillnex, the former Council intelligence officer who had first studied humanity, watched with interest. He had defected to the Coalition months ago, bringing valuable information with him. They did it, he said quietly to a human diplomat standing nearby. They actually created a workable alternative to the Council system. We just asked the questions everyone was afraid to ask, the diplomat replied. Why should some worlds prosper while others provide all the resources? Why should anyone surrender their independence for protection? Outside the building, Admiral Samantha Wright, formerly Lieutenant Wright from the First Contact Team, oversaw security. She had been promoted after the battle against Draztul's fleet and now commanded the Joint Species Coalition Defense Force. Her ships patrolled the edges of Coalition space, ensuring that Council loyalists respected the new borders. They had already escorted several Council vessels that had tried to pressure former member worlds to return. Inside the assembly hall, Miller approached a display showing the current galactic map. Nearly 40% of what had been Council space was now part of the Coalition, with more worlds considering joining every day. "I never imagined we would come this far so quickly," he said to Threll. The plant-like alien's leaves rustled, and what humans had learned was a sign of amusement. "Your species has a remarkable ability to inspire others. You ask questions no one else thought to ask." In a secure room beneath the assembly hall, scientists from 7 species worked together on new technology that combined the best ideas from all their worlds. Dr. Natalie Parker and Dr. Eric Sanchez represented Earth, sharing human innovation while learning from alien expertise. The Council didn't encourage cooperation between species, Dr. Parker observed as she examined a Meritant energy device. They kept each world isolated from the others, dealing only through Council channels. "Control through division," Dr. Sanchez nodded. "But look at what we can accomplish together." As the ceremony ended, President Russell and representatives from all 15 species signed the official Coalition Charter. The moment was broadcast across Earth and to all member worlds. In his private chambers on the Council station, High Counselor Vex Tour watched the broadcast. His once mighty Council now controlled less than half its former territory. New requests to leave arrived daily. "Perhaps," he said to himself, "it is time for the Council to learn from the humans as well." On Earth, night fell on Geneva as the celebrations continued. Humans and aliens alike looked up at the stars, seeing not a cold, empty void, but a galaxy full of new possibilities. The old order had fallen. The new one was just beginning. And at its center was the planet that had dared to say no.